Good evening, Patriots. This is Praying Medic, and this is my QAnon broadcast for Friday, August 21st, 2020. Welcome to the broadcast. Those of you who are following Q, you can find Q posts on a number of different websites, including qalerts.app and qmap.pub. You can also find them on qanon.pub. And if you're looking for a mobile app and you have an Android device, you can install the mobile apps on Android devices. If you go to qalerts.app or qmap.pub and look at the instructions for manually installing the app on your phone, the apps are not available in the Play Store. Before we jump into the broadcast, I just wanted to mention my book, Calm Before the Storm. This is Volume 1 in the Q Chronicles series. Volume 2 is getting close. We're editing it and hoping to have it out in the next couple of weeks. But Volume 1 begins with the Q's operation in 2017, cover a lot of the main subjects that Q discusses in November and December of 2017. Quite a bit of information about FISA abuse, the NSA, the Clinton Foundation, Barack Obama, and the Iran deal. There's also a glossary in the back of the book that has over 500 abbreviations, acronyms, those terms in brackets that people have a hard time understanding. Glossary has been very helpful for a lot of people. You can check out Calm Before the Storm on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And now let's get into the decode. My theme for this broadcast is, why is everything Q being censored, banned, and attacked? So after Twitter decided it was going to take action against Q-related accounts last month, Facebook this week announced that they're going to remove tens of thousands of pages, accounts, and groups related to QAnon, as well as militia groups and anarchist groups. So they're lumping in QAnon with these other groups, claiming without evidence that the Q people are engaging in violence. That came on the heels of Twitter's decision to suspend Q-related accounts on July 21st. I anticipate YouTube will follow up with some kind of similar action in the next few weeks. So Q posted this on the 19th. Ask yourself a very simple question. Why is everything regarding Q being censored, banned, and attacked? When do you expend ammunition, resources, Q? So why do multi-billion-dollar companies expend massive resources to shut down a so-called fringe conspiracy? What threat does Q pose to them? Well, the media are going all out trying to frame Q as a violent movement and get our pages and our accounts shut down, because we are a threat to their narrative. The president's comments about Q this week didn't satisfy the media, so they questioned Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany again the morning of the 20th. You can listen to this video where she talks about Q.
Asking the question, what is QAnon? It describes it as a right-wing group that believes President Trump is under assault by Satan worshipers, has made its way from social media into U.S. politics. Forbes says as of today, the president has retweeted 4 congressional candidates who have promoted their conspiracy theory. Ari Fleischer this morning saying that the president would be better off denouncing QAnon. They're a bunch of wackadoodles. Both parties have nutty fringe groups. The USA does best when leaders in both parties can keep the sentiments of those people on the fringes. Is the president supporting this conspiracy theory?
No, what the president is doing is working for the American people. The media talks a lot about this so-called QAnon. I've never heard the president mention it. I talk to him oftentimes 10 times a day. Not once have I heard him mention this group. The media talks about it and asks about it, but this president's focused on a pandemic that he's navigating a historic response for, a V-shaped recovery as the economy gets back to work. The media can focus on QAnon, but this president's focusing on the American people.
But just to be clear, Kayleigh, he was asked about it yesterday. He said he has heard about the online conspiracy theorists. His words were he has heard about them and that they are people that love our country. It was puzzling to many people.
He's talking about his supporters. He believes his supporters are good, hardworking people that love this country. He's not in the business of basket of deplorable politics. He doesn't talk about
QAnon. Does he want the support of that group?
He has not at all looked into who QAnon is. Again, we're in the middle of a global pandemic that he's navigating a historic response for, an economic recovery. He's focused squarely on the American people, not some group on the internet or out there that the media tends to focus on far more than we believe is merited.
The FBI released a memo last year warning that QAnon's followers could be possible, quote, conspiracy theory-driven domestic extremists. So just to reiterate, the president did comment on it, saying that these are people that love our country. So if there's any further response from the White House, let us know. Final thought, Kaylee?
Yeah, there's a lot of children in this country who have died in the streets of Democrat cities. We're focused on capturing criminals. We're focused on navigating the pandemic. We're focused on the economy, not some group.
Kaylee actually hit the nail on the head. The media have an unhealthy obsession with Q. They can't stop thinking or talking about Q, and they're going to continue pushing Q further and further into the mainstream. The media's fatal attraction to Q, I think, is a symptom of Washington, D.C.'s fear of the movement and the way that we're changing the public narrative. So Q posted this on the 19th, Panic in D.C. in theaters now. There is a lot of panic in D.C. right now. After they asked President Trump about Q and Kayleigh McEnany yesterday, this morning, Vice President Mike Pence was asked about Q, and here is his response.
But the point of the conspiracy theory, the reason it's important to get on the record about it is because it's an easy thing for us to come together and say, of course, that is not happening. But I'm not hearing you say that. You're actually adding oxygen to this conspiracy theory, this unbelievably outlandish point of view. Come on. Tell me it's not true when the president doesn't believe it.
I don't know anything about that conspiracy theory. I don't know anything about QAnon, and I dismiss it out of hand.
Then they asked House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy about Q. He said there is no place for QAnon in the Republican Party. And this is an article from The Hill. So it looks to me like the media have decided to take discussions of Q mainstream. They've tried as much as possible to squelch the movement. It hasn't worked. Writing, I guess there's probably more than 2,500 articles about Q hasn't helped their cause. They've driven Q into the mainstream discussion, and now they're just dragging it further out by asking political figures. One result of that decision is a record number of searches for Q during the last week. This is a graph showing Google searches for QAnon starting in November of 2017, and this is the current level of searches. There's never been this many searches for QAnon on Google. People are searching about Q like crazy right now. So the decision by the press to take Q mainstream, it seems to have a strategic goal in mind. The press is targeting conservative leaders, and they're trying to force them to weigh in on Q. The goal of that is to get conservative leaders to denounce Q publicly by shaming them. You saw that with Vice President Pence. So apparently the media believe that rejection of Q by respected leaders will discourage normies from learning about Q for themselves. Even though a lot of people in Washington, D.C. follow Q, they understand the importance of optics. Aspiring politicians, people who are running for office this year, they know the popularity of Q, and many of them, I think, are jumping on the bandwagon, affirming Q, in the hope of growing their base of support. But Q is a double-edged sword. Elected leaders who are running for re-election have to be concerned about alienating Q skeptics. If they publicly state anything about Q, now people who are not following Q or think Q is a conspiracy, they're not going to be very happy. So I would expect anyone running for re-election this year to deny any knowledge of Q, even if they're secretly reading Q's posts. And that's basically the thesis of this article from the New York Times that was published today. The Republican embrace of QAnon goes far beyond Trump. And here's a little snippet from it. Few other elected Republicans have been willing to speak out publicly. Most avoid questions about Q, demonstrating the thin line some officials are trying to walk. So due to the media's current strategy, it seems like public discussion of Q is only going to increase. and had some interesting dreams over the last week about that. Each person is going to have to decide for themselves whether Q is worth following. I can tell you this, even though social media platforms are trying to ban discussions of Q, it's only going to get worse for them. The more they try to silence Q, the more people are going to be interested in it. All right, now we're going to switch gears here. On the 19th, Q posted this, fifth column Q. And definition of the fifth column, it's a group of operatives or agents who secretly undermine national interests. On January 21st, 2017, the day after he was inaugurated, President Trump visited the CIA headquarters. And as he closed his address, which was about 15 minutes long, he made a joking reference to the fifth column. It's kind of a veiled reference, but I think people who were there understood what he was talking about. I'll let you listen to this.
I will tell you, final time, although I will say it when you let in your thousands of other people that have been trying to come in, because I am coming back, we may have to get you a larger room. We may have to get you a larger room. You know? And maybe it'll be built by somebody that knows how to build, and we won't have columns. Do you understand that? We get rid of the columns.
I think Q's reference to the fifth column, it could be a reference to people in the intelligence community, White House, and national government who have infiltrated the government and are working against the president. It's also possible that this could be a reference to people infiltrating the Q movement who are coming in to try to sabotage the movement. So there's two possible explanations for that, at least two. Q posted this on the morning of the 19th, actually the evening of the 19th. Epstein Island, who owns the surrounding islands, close proximity. Unique skill sets of Maxwell. Link to a YouTube video. Submarine pilot, unusual. Helicopter pilot. What benefit might that serve? Q. So this link to this YouTube video. I'll let you listen to just a couple minutes of this.
On the stage here we have Glenn Maxwell, founder and president of the Terramar Project, a nonprofit whose mission is to create a global ocean community to protect and promote sustainable development of the ocean. Glenn is easily one of the smartest, most fascinating people I've ever met. This is proven by the fact that she holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Oxford University, is a private helicopter pilot, a trained EMT, a qualified ROV, which I had to look up what that was, and a deep worker submarine pilot, in addition to being fluent in 4 languages. This is what I had written down before I realized that she spoke at the UN 9 times since the last time I saw her. So with that, I'd like to welcome Glenn Maxwell.
Thank you. Excellent. Good afternoon.
So the skills that Ghislaine Maxwell has, being able to pilot a submarine, pilot an ROV, remotely operated vehicle, and helicopter, would be handy for transferring people and cargo to and from Little St. James Island. Especially using a submarine, you could covertly transport people and or cargo without being detected, at least not on the surface of the water. Q posted a link to a story about the transfer of a plot of land on a nearby island. This is kind of a convoluted story, but Joe Biden's brother owned land on an island that's about 8 miles from Little St. James. It's a 1-acre plot of land. He divided that plot into 3 parcels, and then he sold one of those parcels to a lobbyist who has been closely connected to Joe Biden for many years. He sold it for the price of the entire plot of land. The lobbyist then gave Biden's brother a mortgage loan on the entire property. So there's this transfer of money, and I think what Q is hinting at here is that it might have been a way of transferring money to the Biden family in exchange for political favors, because this lobbyist has, like I said, he's been closely connected to Joe Biden, and he has benefited from a lot of legislation that Joe Biden has supported over the years. We have one last update on Ghislaine Maxwell. This comes from Technofog. Ghislaine Maxwell update letters to the judge from the Department of Justice. The investigations into Maxwell and other possible co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein remain active. Maxwell and the co-conspirators are subject of ongoing grand jury investigations. I'm going to read a little bit of this document from the Department of Justice. Third, the specific documents at issue pertain to ex parte applications made as part of an ongoing grand jury investigation. An ex parte case is where the prosecution is represented, but the defendants are not. The documents were filed under seal and presently remain under seal because the relevant judicial officers have ordered that all filings regarding those matters, including the discovery materials referenced in the defense letter, remain sealed. As the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York has stated publicly, the investigation into the conduct of the defendant and, in this case, and other possible co-conspirators of Epstein remains active. The full scope and details of that investigation, however, have not been made public. So we now know from the Department of Justice that there are ongoing grand jury investigations into the potential accomplices of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We'll just have to wait and see how that all turns out. That gets us caught up to Q for today. If this broadcast has helped you, you might want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, the link to my Patreon page is in the description box. The link to my book, Calm Before the Storm, is also in the description box. Please keep me and Denise in prayer, keep the President in prayer, keep Q and the team in prayer, keep the Secret Service and the military in prayer. Love you all. Take care. I will catch you on the next broadcast.